I've worked with people in the art world before who, you know, have had training and have had, you know, and or you know, just people who, you know, have chosen maybe to go to an art class and they get really stuck, like they get really kind of self-conscious about like what they're creating, or they might, you know, get all in their heads about it. Everyone who came along to the workshops or who was making something, like those filters were not there. So it was nearly like their creativity, they just tapped like directly into their creativity. And that was just an absolutely amazing experience to witness.
Would you like to both introduce yourselves, please, and tell me who you are?
Sure, I'm Jill Patterson and I work for the People's Recovery Project. We started working with the People's Recovery Project in April, but had known Ed and Nathan probably for about 10 years previous, and I've worked with them at Mungo's. And when shortly after I came on board, as well as leading on or co-leading with another colleague, CK, on the women's offer within the organisation, there was already kind of talks about running a creative opportunity and an exhibition in October. And Alesh had already been on board. So I'll hand over to Alesh and you can introduce yourself if that's all right.
Yep. So my name's Alesh and I don't work for the People's Recovery Project, but I've worked with them quite a lot. Over the past 2 years, I've helped make some documentaries for some of the recovery members. And then that started from the LSE research which was like a research into what are the long-term costs of people facing addiction and homelessness versus putting them through detox and rehab. And then we had an event which was at LSE to kind of showcase the films, showcase the research. And I went along and it was great. There was some really good food available and lots of other interesting research that had been done. But I felt, hey, we should show these films in a space that's more reflective of our community. And I wanted to celebrate everyone's journey and have like a moment where we could, sort of be together in a less official way or a less institutional way. And so I told that to Ed and Nathan, and then pretty soon we thought, okay, well, let's do some sort of exhibition because it'd be a bit boring if it was just the films. So we did feature that research in the end, and LSE did let us use their research design, but then we also made some new artworks and did some workshops, creative workshops for 2 months where different community members came along and experimented and eventually produced some artworks or worked on some performances which were happened on the Thursday performance event.
So were you based in the venue that I visited? The name escapes me right now, so you're gonna have to remind me.
The House of Annetta.
Right.
And I should probably clarify, LSE is London School of Economics, in case that, that you probably knew that, Leon, but in case.
No, good point. Yeah.
So there was a partnership between the charity that had worked on gathering that information together. And the House of Annetta was a contact that Ed, one of our founders, had there, and they are building well, they're an organisation that looks after our custodians of the building. They have campaigning happening out of there. They have support for activists and researchers and marginalised groups within the community around Brick Lane, and probably slightly wider as well in terms of different groups. So we felt that was quite a good fit because it wasn't institutional, it was pretty central for people to get to, and the nature of the building itself is that it is quite a creative space and where creativity is celebrated and where people could show up and just be themselves and they didn't have to explain their story or, there was no expectations on people other than show up and do some creative things together. So that felt like a really good fit. We didn't know if we were going to be able to use the space for our workshops until we kind of got started. So yeah, that was great to be able to not only have the exhibition there, but have the 2-month lead up where we can meet weekly there to create the artwork and work on the performances. So people got used to coming to that same place. And then the exhibition was only meant to run for 4 days, I think, initially, and then we got it extended to the full week.
Cool. Do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the people who took part? I mean, you don't have to tell me specifics, but I mean, just kind of, about just kind of like the journey of some people who, because I guess some would be walking in with some experience of arts practice or performing and others not. So I don't know if there's
yeah, I mean, well, everyone that has come to the workshops and is involved is in recovery, and everyone's at different stages. So some people, like Marius, who you'd come to see his book launch, Marius is well down the line in a way that he's sort of been in very difficult places in his life, but had been to treatment. He's now part of our community in more of a volunteering way, and also peer mentor and supporting people on their journey in recovery. He had already written his book, so it was a great platform for him to launch the book. So that's kind of one end of the spectrum. And then you had some people who had been engaging in our community coming along to our preparation groups, so groups that help prepare people to go into detox and rehab. And they had no formal experience of creativity at all. So we had different workshops that explored different forms of creativity, which I'll let Alesh talk about in a second, because that'll probably be nice for you to talk about. And so people tried different things, and some things people really loved and stuck at and then continued with that form for the following weeks, and other people dipped in and out, tried different things. Some people came along to the workshops but didn't actually submit anything to put in the final exhibition, and some people created things that didn't end up in the exhibition but actually performed on the day. So it was a whole mixture of creativity and stages of recovery. So some people still actively using and trying to stop using. Some people some people who are abstinent and very close to going into treatment but hadn't quite gone to treatment yet. So I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about the different forms of creative workshops that we had and what that brought out in people?
Yeah, we did. So we had 8 workshops in the show, and because we not all the members were performers or artists before we started the shows, we put together a kind of lineup of very different creative practitioners to come in and give a pretty wide range, from music to like story making to writing workshops, and lots of different people coming in as well. And I think that was really helpful because the participants didn't really know what they were going to come to every week, but I think that added a lot to it because people were trying things they hadn't done before, and I think that way, by trying lots of different things, people learn what they enjoyed and didn't enjoy. pretty quickly. And then I guess it kind of ended up with half of the group enjoying public speaking or poetry, and another half of the group preferring more collage or drawing. And then,
Printmaking was another one. Had Sasha done any printmaking before the workshop?
yeah, I think so. Sasha did a lot of art during her recovery, and then she's now running her own art classes. But I think she enjoyed printmaking, and we set up like a risograph printing session right at the end. And so I think that was a good one to kind of bring ideas together into one sheet of paper, one final image. So yeah, a few people who'd been writing poems and stuff were able to print them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, kind of final, that was the last workshop we did, and Sasha made loads of prints which we put in. Cos put in some, he made some designs for the cooking because we had some food on the performance day, and it was just quite a beautiful moment because he was thinking, okay, I need to create a kind of some sort of signage for my wife's cooking, and he ended up calling it his daughter's name, Lily's Kitchen. So I think there was a lot of small magical moments like that where people kind of, sometimes they weren't too sure what they were doing in the session, but then sometimes a light bulb would sort of switch and there'd be like small moments of, yeah, small milestones. And I feel that for a lot of the community members is you just wouldn't know how many people are coming or what kind of day they'd had before they come, but then I think everyone involved definitely had moments of, yeah, small victories, and I think that was, yeah, really fun part of the workshops for me was seeing people finding something that they felt good doing.
That
Yeah.
that sounds really great because obviously you thought about meeting a whole broad spectrum of people where they're at, rather than like you're going to do this or being too prescriptive and everything. And that's where the magic happens, isn't it? And that's what I was going to ask in kind of conclusion. Really, was actually what the takeaways were for you both, and also is there anything next, or you know, is there kind of any legacy is a horrible word, isn't it? But I mean, it's kind of obvious. But you know, it's really great to hear that Sasha, I think you mentioned, had is now running art workshops and everything. And I just wondered, is there any kind of follow up from what you're doing as well as what you learned? I guess.
Yeah, what I think everyone took away something very individual and collective at the same time. So I think a lot of the participants found, okay, I'm interested in performance, specifically public speaking about maybe my recovery, and maybe the steps I want to take is towards having a online social platform where I give motivational talks, or someone else might be thinking, Sasha might be thinking, okay, I want to make more prints for myself. But I think collectively working as a group and having this feeling of one team doing something, I think everyone enjoyed that element of feeling like part of something that involved the general public as well as highlighting their own skills. And
Yeah, and some people were able to invite, you know, their family or people that perhaps they haven't been able to have, you know, positive relationships with in the past, and to see them bring along, you know, people, and for those people to see their artwork and to see what they'd achieved, and that, you know, this was a public exhibition. That might not sound well, that